Well, this won't shock many of you, but it needs to be pointed out because, as per usual, the so-called British Broadcasting Corporation is about as British as Emmanuel Macron. In fact, it seems they love the French so much, maybe they should be asking them to pay their licence fee, you know, for the mind-melting garbage and blatant propaganda they pump out. This time it's stemming from the untold numbers of doctors, engineers and rocket scientists floating over here from war-torn France. You know, the third world nation that needs £54 million from us to secure its own borders from people desperate to escape it.
As far as I can tell, although we're seeing these pictures from our helicopter, this is not a group of migrants who've been identified by the authorities as so many of the people who are being brought in. And there we are back now with the live pictures of them coming ashore. I don't know whether any authorities will appear, but it has to be said, although very, very unsafe, the boat they've come over in, it's a lot safer than some of the other crafts that people have been using to cross the channel. Well, we will, of course, follow this developing story with these remarkable pictures, which certainly tell us what's been going on in the channel. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 people there coming ashore in a rib boat in Dungeness.
The BBC, it seems, are outraged that this conservative government hasn't given a shit ton of money to the French one over there. Yes, the BBC cannot believe that our government has not thrown millions of your hard-earned tax money at something you shouldn't even be paying for. Me, I would be saying you're getting nothing, we're just going to return the boat straight to France under international and maritime law. And in fact, maybe the bill should even be sent to them since they're willingly letting these people actually leave the country. Now, not once in this little clip that I've got here does the idiot from the BBC point out the fact that France, like I said, is literally letting these people set off from the coast. In fact, just the other day, British media spotted 8 coppers standing around watching boats set off from France heading here. Not once did they try and stop them despite being armed with fucking guns. And apparently it also took the migrants something like 40 minutes to bring the boat to the water from where they actually were first spotted, and obviously it set off at a snail pace because it's got like 40 dudes in it. This would obviously be plenty of time to call in backup if 8 armed police officers in France can't control a crowd number in less than 50, which of course they bloody can. Now, the French are obviously just as responsible for the shit show that we're in as is our own government. Of course, it's our government's job to protect the borders, not open them like a hooker's legs. So realistically, the buck actually stops with our government, but you would think that the French are completely innocent in this based on the clips we've got from the BBC. They once again show us their impartiality and love for the EU with this little segment. You know what, enough of me talking shit, take a look.
And there's been a lot of talk this weekend about the number of migrants who've tried to come into the UK. Can you let us know, can you confirm maybe the figure, how many migrants arrived by boat from Calais over the weekend? Because there has been huge numbers of people, since the weather has got a little bit better, who tried to arrive here over the weekend. What do you know?
Yeah, it is quite weather dependent, as you know. When the weather is good, you get more crossings, and constantly we're working, and together with counterparts in France along the coast to deter these gangs, these criminals who profit from putting people's lives directly in danger by putting them in small, unsafe craft across the English Channel. And yes, the last couple of days has been again a period of increased activity as the weather has changed. But this is something actually which has been with us over the last year, really significantly, and it's really important that we continue in those efforts. And indeed, I'd like to see increased activity, increased turn back, particularly in France. France is a safe country, right? It's if you're seeking asylum, you should claim it in the first safe country you come to. There
Would
is
it help
not a reason.
Would it help
for
if we
people
gave
to
the
have to
French some
come
of that
across the
promised
channel.
money, the 54 million promised under the deal to tackle migrants? Because the French Interior Minister said at the weekend that not €1 has been sent by the British government following that agreement. And they say, you know, they've hired more officers, they've purchased technology, they're trying to protect the border. And yet that promised money from the UK, he says, not €1 has gone their way. Why is that the case?
Well, I mean, that's an administrative question. Administrative process has to be put in place, and I think
But
we're
you are
working
the
out
Minister for
between us.
Security and Borders, so you're probably the right person to ask, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'm answering you. So that's an administrative process to work out the exact kind of flows of money, exactly how that happens and exactly when. But that will happen. That's, as I say, it's an administrative thing to figure out. It's not a political. It's not a political question, and we're working closely with colleagues in France on that. You're right. The £54 million was a figure that was agreed, and that has enabled there to be an increase in the numbers of people working on that. And actually, I think that the rate of deterring people coming across, of stopping people coming, that the rate has kept up. But it's against this background of what's been a significantly increased volume of people trying to. So we need to keep upping our efforts. But absolutely, we're working closely with the French, and I expect that question that you've raised to be finalised in the coming weeks.
Okay, so it's an administrative error and not a deliberate withholding of funds.
I didn't say it was an error. I said it was a process to work through when you're transferring what are actually very large sums of taxpayer money.
Now, obviously, I'm no fan of this government since, like I said, this shit show is obviously on them, but the BBC here are just a complete joke. They're moaning because it's taken the government time to pay £54 million of taxpayer money to the French and just to secure their own borders against criminals breaking their own bloody laws. It's actually completely deranged, but when it comes to this sort of shit, the BBC are almost as bad as the government in my mind, something I've actually said before. The only thing that makes the government and pretty piss poor Patel above the BBC in this piss take is that they agreed to pay this money in the first place. As you heard, the wet wipe minister that they had on literally just talked a whole bunch of bollocks throughout, when really he should have called out this BBC host for his fanatical desperation to waste £54 million of your tax money. It would have at least showed that he had a spine in him somewhere, but he clearly must not. Either way though, this shows that both the government and BBC are septic spots on the arse of humanity if you ask me.